As Sharon indicated, I'm Linda Hickey, and I'm also the Reskill Project Coordinator for this project. But also with me today is my colleague from Ottawa, Callum MacDonald, with Tourism HR Canada. Next slide. I'm glad you're here, Callum.
Hello, everyone.
Okay, so our research question. Will reskilling for tourism allow unemployed workers from non-tourism industries to enter the tourism labor force and support the development and expansion of a destination's tourism product offering? Okay, next slide. So we have a bit of an update today. So going forward, obviously COVID had an impact on all of us, right? It had a huge impact on the tourism industry, as you can well imagine. We have been, without a doubt, the hardest hit. So due to the impact of COVID on our research project, we have requested and received approval from the Newfoundland and Labrador Workforce Innovation Center to extend the Reskill project to November 2022. Yay! We are so grateful for that. Thank you to Workforce Innovation for that. So going forward, there's some changes basically to the methodology of our project. So we're going to be doing some perception sentiment surveys to capture perceptions of work in tourism, the effect of COVID-19, the perceived impact of training versus other incentives. And we're also going to be tracking labor market and tourism demand trends. Okay, next slide, please. So we'll give you a little overview to date. We have established skills need, with a focus on new and emergent transferable skills, which are currently lacking in the industry. We determined the exact skill upgrading participants required to work in the tourism sector, and we deliver training to tourism business operators and employees in western and central regions of the province. And of course, COVID impacted potential workers from joining or rejoining the labor force in the last 18 months. Next slide. So we do have some early learnings that we're excited about, right? So 4 regions have been assessed to date, and early learnings indicate that providing training to leverage workplace skills in all forms in the tourism industry is providing excellent results. Learners are inspired to participate in the training identified through the needs assessment and felt it enhances their job skills and employment opportunities. This is really good news, right? And also tourism operators are recognizing that specific skills are required for staff and skilled employees impacts their business bottom line. This is also really good news. Next slide, please. Some additional early learnings. We learned that tourism operators are more open to having their employees engaged in learning to obtain new skills. The needs assessments indicate that workers are unprepared when it comes to skills for work in the tourism industry and making a personal investment in reskill, citing it needs to be a requirement of employment. And the results indicate that reskilling doesn't have to be a daunting process, and learners are more than willing to participate with support. Okay, next slide. So we have some work remaining, and we're delighted, as I said, to be able to move on and do this work. I know for me personally, I was so engaged in this that I did not want it to end because we want to get the results of our research question. And so, as I said, we've kind of pivoted like everybody else because of COVID and changed up a little bit of the work. But we still need to do some recruitment in 2 other regions of the province, that being Bonavista and Avalon region. And we need to do the learner needs assessment there. So we need to recruit learners in those regions and then do the learner needs assessment. And then once we identify what that training needs to be, we'll deliver that training in those 2 regions. Next slide. I'm going to toss this one over to Callum because he's our research expert. Just a little bit of information on tourism employment. Callum, over to you.
Thank you, Linda. Really, this is just meant to demonstrate why we felt there was a need to extend the project. Employment within the tourism sector goes through a seasonal cycle. It's higher in the summer, but now we've basically within our tourism sector seen 2 summers of very low levels of employment. So there's a need to extend this project into next year so we can really get those learners trained and connect them to work in tourism so we can do our follow-up assessments. But as Linda has alluded to, we also need to assess how all of this has changed perceptions of work in tourism. She alluded to our early learnings. People are they appreciate the training, they feel it gives them the skills to work in the sector, but we know COVID has had an impact on people's perceptions of tourism as an industry and as a place of work. And there's a need to assess this because we expect that coming into the year 2022, we've seen this elsewhere as demand starts to pick up. We've started to experience very significant labor shortages in the tourism sector. And so we expect that this will likely be repeated. And we do feel there's a need not only to assess the training component, but is there been any negative impact on people's willingness to work in our sector? There, we do know from some national level research that there has been, but we don't know if it's necessarily a permanent change or if it's a temporary change during the pandemic itself. And this is just to further kind of demonstrate the impact on employment in tourism versus employment levels overall. As you can see, employment levels in tourism down anywhere from about a quarter to 30%, depending on the month. And that was for this summer. Employment levels overall are still down, but to a much lesser degree.
Okay, next slide. Thank you so much, Callum. And so, moving forward, like I said, we're delighted. At the end of all of our work, we will be producing a final project report. The information gathered will be compiled and it will be turned over to the Workforce Innovation Center and key stakeholders. And next slide is basically reach out to us. If anybody requires any further information, we're only too delighted to make contact with you. Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you.